it feels like more time than ever, we're getting actual players talk about the rumors surrounding them. Just in this week alone, DeJounte Murray was asked about the Spurs. He said it would be a pleasure to play for the Spurs again. Greg Popovich is like a father figure to me. Brother, you still play for the Atlanta Hawks. Welcome back to the Kenny Beecham podcast, y'all. I am here with a mailbag episode. I always tell y'all my favorite part of every single episode of this show is the Ask KB segment. And you trying to tell me I can do a whole episode of basically Ask KB? Yeah, that's what we're doing today. Now, I did this about a month or 2 months ago and kind of feeling out the room, trying to figure out what y'all enjoy and what y'all don't. And it seems like me talking to y'all, answering specific questions from the viewer base is something y'all enjoy. So I'm like, okay, we're at the part of the NBA right now where I'm watching for pleasure and not necessarily for content, if that makes sense. Because I don't think you're learning much about teams 2 weeks before the deadline. Because I'm assuming that a lot of these teams are going to make moves. Maybe not so much, but I'm watching for pleasure. And because of that, I'm not going into my notes saying, oh my God, this team can't be a contender because they did this on this random day in the beginning of January. So because of that, it's just not a lot of storylines / topics that I really want to bring to the table. So I opened up to the audience and I tweeted it out on the main account and it got about 600 replies on X. So shout out to everybody that participated. I tried my best to sift through as many as possible and I picked my favorite, like 12 of them. So shout out to the community. And with a mailbag, you never really know. This could be an hour-and-a-half episode. This could be 22 minutes. I have no idea. No matter what it is, I'm gonna try my best to give y'all the content. A few things before we get into the first question. One of the things that's brought to my attention, because I'm always trying to take suggestions from the audience, trying to figure out how can we improve the show, how can we grow the show. And one of the things I've been seeing a lot recently is that you guys enjoy the show, which thank you. But there are some people out there that are wishing that we release the show earlier. Right now, we've been releasing the Kenny Beecham podcast 1 o'clock Central Time on Mondays, and it was at Thursdays. And that has been away since we basically started this YouTube channel. But it brought to my attention, y'all got commutes, you got school, you got work, and you want the Kenny Beecham podcast early because that 30-minute drive might be just a little bit better. That's what y'all telling me. You feel me? So what we're going to do to try to remedy this, at least test it out for a couple weeks to figure out if it hurts or helps the show, is that we're going to be dropping the audio version of the show early mornings, while the visual is going to drop at the normal time that we have at 1 o'clock Central. We'll see how it goes. So if you're watching this post 1 o'clock and you're like, man, I need this for my commute, go over to Spotify, go over to Apple and download the episodes. Because I'm assuming that if you're commuting, you don't necessarily need the video. You should probably be vigilant if you're driving, even if you're on the L train, on the subway. I'm hoping that you keeping track of your surroundings. So let's just do audio and y'all let me know what you think. Leave a like, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter with the hashtag AskKB, and maybe you'll be featured in the next episode or the next big mailbag. Let's get into it. First question comes from Tariq or Tarek. I never really know how to pronounce it, but he's been around for a very long time supporting all of my ventures. We're hearing that the Knicks and Lakers, amongst other teams, are interested in Bruce Brown. Who would you like to see him get traded to? /2, where do you think he actually lands? Now, the second question, I don't really know. I have a hard time gauging these type of things. Like, you can read as many rumors as you want about a team being interested, but you never really know what's going to be the determining factor for the front office. We just saw the Toronto Raptors pull off one trade where they wanted real NBA players and getting RJ Barrett, you quickly for OG Anunoby, and then another trade, they got draft capital almost exclusively, including Bruce Brown. So you never really know where Masai's head is at, or just any general manager. So I'm not going to try to predict where he lands. But I want to talk about the two teams that you had mentioned here. The first one, the New York Knicks. Bruce Brown was asked. This is so interesting in NBA culture right now, because I think, maybe this is not the truth, and I'm just being more cognizant of it. It feels like more time than ever, we're getting actual players talk about the rumors surrounding them. Just in this week alone, DeJounte Murray was asked about the Spurs. He said it would be a pleasure to play for the Spurs again. Greg Popovich is like a father figure to me. Brother, you still play for the Atlanta Hawks. And now Bruce Brown was asked about playing for the Knicks, and he said, I could do everything Tom Thibodeau wants. I like that. Maybe this happened again 10 years ago and I just wasn't paying attention, but it feels like right now more than ever we're getting players actually talking about it. Like the way that Bruce Brown quote read, and again, I didn't hear it, I read it, so maybe his voice said otherwise, but the way it reads is like, New York, come get me. How does he fit there? So when I think about Bruce Brown, obviously he was a huge part of that championship run for the Denver Nuggets, and he's one of those glue guys, do a little bit of everything, can cut. Right now his 3-point shot is down to 34%. On a bunch of attempts, so it's not as good as it was last year where he's 36 or 38% the year before that. But he's a guy that if you're trading for him with his $20 million contract, not guaranteed next season, but a team option, you're trading for that type of contract, you're trading for that type of player to close out games, and at least in most cases, because that felt like in their championship run, he was that perfect fifth player on the court for them when they needed it the most, right? When I look at the New York Knicks, and though this could be a place he lands up, and I wouldn't hate it, I also feel like they got Bruce Brown on the roster already. Or players similar to Bruce Brown already on the roster. Now, you can make an argument who's better, Bruce Brown or Josh Hart. You make an argument who's better, and at least in closing lineups, because that's what I'm thinking about for Bruce Brown. Who's better in the closing lineup for the New York Knicks? Is it Dante DiVincenzo, who's shooting over 40% from three this season? Or is it Bruce Brown, who's shooting, again, 34% from three this season? It feels like the Knicks would have so much more overlap in talent, but again, this could be just a depth play. We got rid of Emmanuel quickly. We got rid of RJ Barrett and only brought back in, well, I guess you brought in two bodies because Precious just had a double-double the other day, but only got back one body on the wing, let's say, or as a ball handler, whatever you want to call it, and Bruce Brown can kind of be that. But I'm not completely convinced. Now, I do believe that it will be malpractice if the Knicks go this entire deadline without trading that Evan Fournier contract, plus one of the plethora of the picks that they have. They have so many picks right now that, and some of them not even their own, that if they don't package Evan Fournier in one of those picks to just improve their talent, I feel like they're doing something wrong. I don't know if Bruce Brown is that play, but if it is, I wouldn't be too mad. But if they decide to go another direction, I completely understand. When you talk about the Lakers, though, he definitely, again, as far as talent goes, he's a guy that can come into a locker room. We saw his first game with the Raptors when they played against the Bulls. He immediately came in off the plane, 3 hours off the plane, no practice. I'll basically walk into the locker room saying, "What up, y'all? I'm Bruce." And he came out and gave them a really good performance without knowing anybody, the tendencies of his teammates. He's one of those just, I'm here and I'm going to do my job type players. And maybe the Lakers just need that type of stuff. But again, one of the things, one of the major problems with this Lakers season so far is their lack of three-point shooting, and I'm going to bring up the 34% again because that doesn't help them too much. It's better than Cam Reddish's 29%, but is that 5% difference really worth trading D'Angelo Russell? Because with the $20 million as promised for Bruce Brown, you kind of have to package in some of the people that are on your roster already. The Knicks are maybe a better fit because you're just trading Evan Fournier. The brother don't even play like that. He don't play at all, really. So that's a dead contract nonetheless. Now, with the Lakers, you have to give up people that are actually performing for you, whether they're disappointing or they're playing subpar or playing phenomenally for their role. You have to give up something. And with the Lakers, this is the major thing for the Lakers. Again, there are a lot of different things. Some people are going to say Darvin Ham. Some people are going to say everybody else outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis. Right now, every single game for the LA Lakers, they're starting off down by 12 points. When you look at how many three-pointers they make versus how many they give up, they give up 4 more than they make. So every single night, they're in a hole 12 points. They just need to improve. It's not just need, but they definitely need to improve the three-point shooting and get more attempts up because they're dead last in attempts. And again, Bruce Brown can provide some of that. It's an upgrade from some of the other people on the roster, but it's still maybe not enough, especially consider you got to get rid of somebody else. So I don't really love it for the Lakers and not really love it for the Knicks either, but I understand it from the Knicks perspective, I guess. And for the Lakers, I feel as though they're probably people that fit what they want to do maybe a little bit more than Bruce Brown. So the question is, who else should be in the market for Brucey? I kind of like Dallas. Dallas, another team that can get that money up there without giving up anything too significant in their rotation. And I've read a couple different sources of people trying to speculate the value of Bruce Brown right now. Some people are saying it might be a low value first round pick. Some people are saying it might be a couple good seconds. I don't really know. I guess time will tell. I mean, we still don't even know completely if Masai and them are thinking about trading him. But I kind of like Dallas. I like Dallas's lineup of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Dante Exum, Derrick Jones Jr. and Derek Lively. So if I'm traded for Bruce Brown, that means that Dante Exum is probably allocated to the bench and not in these closing lineups. And you can decide for yourself what you think about that. But Dante Exum has been phenomenal. Just he had to get back from his injury, but the minutes of him, Kyrie, and Luka are like plus ridiculous in 45 minutes. I forget the exact number, but it's ridiculous. So maybe you just say, hey, we'd rather use the dead contract of Rashawn Holmes plus some other stuff. And I think they have a one tradable first round pick. I could be mistaken there. And maybe go a different route because we feel good about Dante Exum. I don't really know. I thought about OKC for some time, but that just adds another smallish guard / forward to OKC, and they got a plethora of those. I think that Davis Bertans contract is another one, just like how I mentioned with Evan Fournier. If it's not moved at the deadline, Sam Presti's tripping. Like, you have to package that and something else, maybe one of the 15 first-round picks you have over the next 5 years, and say, here's another body. Don't even have to be somebody that's great, but somebody that can be a rotational player, and I'm hoping that it's more of a big versus a 6'3", 6'4" wing. And then I kind of like Philly. And the reason I like that is because it feels as though the 76ers are trying to stay with that cap flexibility. And if they trade for Bruce Brown right now, it can help them be better this season. But ultimately, you don't have to give him that team option, and that keeps you with the amount of money that you want for free agency. So I think Philly makes some sense. If they trade for Bruce Brown, do I feel like it puts them over the hump? Maybe not so much, but it puts him again in the right direction as a guy that we just saw when he played against the other greatest center in the league, added a lot of value. And we watched Joel Embiid become more of a plus passer over the last couple seasons. He cannot, he can't replicate now. He definitely can't replicate what Jokic was doing on them cuts and Bruce Brown being in the right place, but it can be close-ish. Is that way too much time on Bruce Brown? Maybe. That's what I'm saying. I never really know. Smalls. My boy Brady. One of the OGs. He's been here for, maybe 8, 9 years. I don't even know how long me and Smalls have been cool. AskAskB, is there a chance that Dwight makes it in the NBA top 100 in 25 years, or is the incoming talent too good for him to make it? Dwight Howard, 1000% should have been on NBA 75. The problem with NBA 75, as I saw it, was that they took the NBA 50 and didn't move anybody out. Which, again, a decision. That's fine. That's okay. That's okay. But at the end of the day, I think the talent level in the NBA over the last, 25 years is just so much more. So some of those guys they made the NBA 50 have no business being over there over Dwight Howard. But because they grandfathered everybody in, Dwight didn't make it. And hell, there are people that did make it that Dwight had a better career than. So it was so confusing to me when that was all announced and D12 was not there. There are a lot of people that were snubbed, but D12's at the top of the list if you ask me. Pau Gasol has made, I think, 4 All-NBA appearances, 2 NBA championships, 6 All-Stars. That sounds like the career of one of the top 75 players in basketball. Tony Parker, another guy. Now, he may not have been him. Same thing with Pau Gasol. These guys were not number 1 options on their championship teams, but hell, Tony Parker got a Finals MVP. And he was an All-NBA player 4 times in a loaded Western Conference guard class. There are a lot of players that were snubbed. Dwight Howard's at the top of my list. So to get back to your question, if he is not in the NBA 75, I don't know what to tell you, right? Here are the people that when we get to the 100, there should be in considerations. The people that were snubbed. Again, Dwight Howard, Pau Gasol, Tony Parker, Chris Bosh. I don't know if he makes it, but again, he had a really good NBA career. Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady, right? I think Dwight Howard has a better career than all of those players personally. That's just my opinion. You might disagree. Now, the future players. Remember, if they're keeping it the same way, where they don't knock anybody out, they're just adding 25 new names, it's going to be rough. And we don't even know. We're in 2024. Ooh, I can't do the quick math. But we're talking 22 years in the future. I think that's right. 22 years in the future. We don't know who's coming through that draft in a couple years. You know what I'm saying? And how good they could potentially be. So I'm just looking at the talent that we know right now. The people that I feel like are future locks, Nikola Jokic didn't make the first one, which is interesting. At that time, he had only had 1 MVP and he didn't have a championship. But when the NBA 75 came out, Shaq was like in year 3, and they were like, oh, this man is a dog. He might not show it right now, but we're damn confident that we will not be wrong about this. So they put Shaq in, and they weren't wrong. Shaq is one of the best players of all time. I think that Jokic, I could have saw the writing on the wall that brother was going to do a little bit more. I mean, he was in the middle of his second MVP season. You know, and the only person to win an MVP and not make it again, other than Jokic, was Derrick Rose. And Derrick Rose, he doesn't have the career like the other MVP. So it makes sense. Jokic is a lock. Joel Embiid is a lock. Luka Doncic is a lock. He has the same All-NBA appearances as Pau Gasol. The brother is younger than I am. Like, it makes no sense. I think Tatum will eventually end up as a lock. And then we get to like Devin Booker, probably Kyrie Irving. There's conspiracy theories, which makes sense because Kyrie Irving was in the NBA 75, but because of the way we were in the world and his political views, that he got scratched from it. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what to believe. But Kyrie Irving is a guy that might end up making it on the second time. And that don't even count for, like, I mean, it's so early. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we've seen what he's done. But we're talking 22 years in the future. I don't know what Shai's career is going to hold. Is he going to win an MVP? Is he going to win championships? Because, again, we're talking about the best of the best. That don't count for the guys like Victor Wembanyama, or, you know what I'm saying, who could potentially have legendary careers, because I'm not a Nostradamus. And if I was, then when I talk about my FanDuel Sportsbook plays, we'd all be eating. Right now I'm 2 for 3 though. I'm just saying, right now I'm 2 for 3. But yeah, Dwight Howard, back to your original question, Smalls, Dwight Howard should 100% be a lock. Again, unless this next generation of talent is just so damn good that they making this generation look trash. And again, I think this generation of talent is better than the last generation of talent. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Babbel. The best way to learn a new language is immersion, living in a place where the language is spoken and speaking it every single day. Or if that's something that you won't be able to do in 2024, the second best way to learn a new language is Babbel. I've always admired people that spoke more than one language, so I think it's my time to dive in. Babbel is a science-based language learning app that actually works. No need to spend hundreds of dollars on a private tutor or spend hundreds of hours on an app that doesn't work. Babbel has quick 10-minute lessons that were designed by over 150 language experts that can get you speaking a new language in around 3 weeks. Personally, I took some years of Spanish back in high school, and it's been a while since that, so trying to get back in the swing of things has been really cool. My goal is to use Babbel to learn Spanish a little bit better, so once I do end up going on vacation, I can communicate with people without asking someone for help. So I need you to lock in with me, because I got a special limited time offer for y'all where you can get 55% off your Babbel subscription if you go to babbel.com/Kenny. Again, this is exclusive for us, for our listeners, for our viewers. Babbel.com/Kenny for 55% off your Babbel subscription. Rules and restrictions may apply. This is a two-parter. The first one comes from Nets fan, official Nets fan, said, why do you think Lonnie isn't in Six Man of the Year conversations now? The reason Lonnie's not in Six Man of the Year conversation, he hasn't played enough games, and the Brooklyn Nets suck. They suck so bad that they just let today the LA Clippers go on a 22-0 run to win a basketball game. Now, luckily for them, everybody was watching football, so nobody recognized it. Guess who wasn't watching football? Well, okay, I was watching both, but I saw it. I saw the run. So this is not really about Lonnie Walker, but it got me thinking, like, have we seen a Six Man of the Year winner on a team that wasn't good? And the answer is no. This is just a little piece of trivia for you, for somebody. If you just want to throw a random piece of trivia out at a cocktail party with your coworkers, since 2000, there's only been one Six Man of the Year that wasn't on the playoff team. And that was 2017, 2018 Lou Williams. Every single other Six Man of the Year, that's 23 or 22 of the last 23, were the Six Man of the Year on a playoff team. Now, even Lou Williams' year of 2017, 2018, his team was 42-40. They just missed it. If it was a play-in, they had an opportunity to win those play-in games, but they missed it. So just a random piece of trivia. Lonnie Walker hasn't played enough games, and the Nets are ass. But getting to the second question that comes from Brendon in this same conversation, what direction do you think the Nets should go? They don't have control of their own picks for the next 2 seasons and have a bad locker room culture that needs Von Gone to repair this. Do they sell or do they buy? Now, Brendon, I went to your account, and Brendon makes his own content around the Brooklyn Nets. So your opinion is probably better than mine on this, because you're in it every single night. But from an outsider's perspective, a guy that just watches a bunch of basketball and watch your favorite team just be trash in the last 5 minutes where Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers put the clamps on. I personally believe, now there's two lines of thought when it comes to the idea like this. Well, this is the first line of thought. We don't have our own first round picks, so why sell? Because us selling right now is just going to give the Houston Rockets a better pick, and then we just look like fools again. And you hear what I'm saying? Again, because the same damn situation happened with Brooklyn Nets years ago, but I digress. Mindset number 2 is what's lost is lost. Let's shift our organization and get things right the way we want it. And personally, where I sit is on the latter. Not the ladder, but on the ladder of the 2 options. Because, yeah, what's lost is lost. They gave up a fully unprotected pick to the Houston Rockets, and of course the James Harden trade in 2024. The Rockets have the right to swap in 2025, and then in 2026 it's completely unprotected to the Rockets too. So it's rough. It's rough. Yep. And you know what? You know what I will say to the front office over there in Brooklyn, and I feel I didn't feel the same way about the Garnett trade. Now, granted, with the Garnett trade, I was a teenager, so what the hell did I know? But if I am the Brooklyn Nets organization, I look back on that time and be like, damn, it didn't work out. But I ain't too. I mean, I'm mad about the future, but that is the thing. That 100%, I don't know if they would admit it now because it failed. 100% of general managers across the association would have done the same exact thing. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were looking for a team to play basketball. Kevin Durant just won two finals MVPs, 2 championships, and he was coming off an injury, right? So he didn't play that first year in Brooklyn, but he's injured, but you know who he is. He's Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving hit one of the biggest shots we've ever seen, and it was at 2016 NBA Finals. I could be getting my years wrong there, but we saw him be an elite level number 2 option. And at this point, his last couple spots didn't go perfect, like Boston didn't go perfect, or Cleveland didn't end perfect. But he's Kyrie Irving, and he's got Kevin Durant coming with him. I would do everything in my power to make that real. And then a little while later, another one of the greatest of all time. It's like, hell, I want to play for you. You do that too. Now, in hindsight, of course, it did not work. But I watched those teams. I watched it when they were healthy. That team, if healthy, if I had $1 million and they said you had to bet it on anything in sports, I am putting 100% of that money on that Nets team, assuming that everybody's healthy. That's how dominant they were in the 200 and something minutes that they played together. I got to watch it live against my Chicago Bulls, where it was one of the first games where all 3 of them were healthy, and it was hell for the Bulls. Now, it's not like the Bulls were this championship contender, but boy, did them boys look ridiculous. There was no way to guard that team. So if I was in charge of the Brooklyn Nets and all 30 of the general managers across the league were in charge of the Brooklyn Nets and they got offered that same opportunity, the 2 max spots to bring KD, Kyrie, and then trade for James Harden, they do it. Because the idea of winning a championship is over everything. And again, they didn't. The pandemic hit. Kyrie didn't want to do what he wanted to do with his body, and everything fell apart. And I'm like, there's a lot of factors. James Harden pulled his hammy. Kevin Durant's toe was on the line. There are a lot of things that prevented them from winning. But again, every general manager says yes. But get back to your original question, Brendon. I'm sorry. I think what's done is done. Personally, I would bite the bullet. I would say, hell, okay, we don't have 2024. We might not have 2025. We won't have 2026. But what do we have on our roster right now? We can get pieces / future draft capital that won't make up your 2024 first round pick. It might be in the top 10, might be in the top 5. It might be 1 for the hell. We don't really know. Your 2025 might be the same thing. And the Houston Rockets are trending more upwards. So they're right to swap. They're probably going to do that. And your 2026 is probably going to be pretty high too. That's fine. Yes, you did that. Yes, Jason Tatum's pick eventually, or I guess the Markelle Fultz pick that was traded for Jason Tatum was your pick. The Jaylen Brown pick was your pick. Okay, it's fine. That might happen again. That's okay. But what did you do last time you were in this situation? You said, to hell with it. We're going to build our team our way. And you built one of the most fun teams that I've had the pleasure to experience over the last 20 years of me watching NBA. It was the D'Angelo Russell / Caris LeVert, Joe Harris, Jared Allen, Jared Dudley. Like, that team was so very fun. And I bet there's a ton of Nets fans right now that the reason they love the Nets is because of that team. You can replicate that. Now, again, that team did not win a playoff series. They lost that series against Philadelphia. I was there for game 1. They lost that series. But you put yourself back in the position to make the same mistake. And hell, keep the cycle going. Because maybe next time you trade for 3 future Hall of Famers, you do win the championship. So I'm potential, and I'm not saying you do it this season completely. I don't say you completely get rid of everybody this year, but a guy like Mikal Bridges is a valuable piece. We saw that last year when you traded for him, how the Grizzlies and the Pelicans and a few other teams were saying, hell, we give you 3 to 4 first round picks. I don't think his value has gone down from then. If anything, it might have gone up a little bit because we've seen that he can put the ball on the floor a lot more, and he might not be having the same efficiency year as before. But if you're trading for him, you're not trading for him to be your 1 option. Hell, maybe you're not even trading for him to be your number 2, and he's on a very team-friendly contract. I would say we're going to get as many assets as we can for him. We're going to get as many assets we can for DFS. So, special ability has probably negative value because he's the Anyway, there are people on your roster that teams will be wanting to get. And some of those players might not give you a good first round pick. Royce O'Neal's probably not giving you a good first round pick this year, but it might give you a few seconds that you could use. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you gave up a first round pick to get Royce O'Neal the door, but that was when you thought that everybody was good. I would say forget our picks. Let's go get other people's picks and try to reset everything. Because even right now, it felt like this after the Kevin Durant trade and the Kyrie trade. It was a ragtag group of good NBA players, but nothing more than that. And we're seeing that more and more again every single day. If you believe that they should be buyers because they don't own their own first round picks, I understand it. But I think this team is so very far away that even them being buyers right now, with like you're gonna be buyers with those Suns picks. Some of those Suns picks are like a 2029, bro. Kevin Durant's 35. I want to keep those picks right now until further notice. So I would sell. It's the first non-NBA related question. It comes from Joseph. Chargers bang. Hashtag AskKB. Is there anything you want to do in life that you just don't have the time for because of work, whether it be on a long vacation, having another kid? Oh my God, don't get me on that conversation. Talk to my wife about this. I'm not ready. Starting a charity or whatever you want to do. And the reason I got this is because the charity thing is big for me. When we were in our meetings and I was telling them, my business partners, that I wanted to start the Enjoy Basketball brand, one of the things that was very high on my priority list was that eventually, again, I didn't know how business works. I wanted to start the business, be like, hell, we give an X percentage to charity. I want to be a sponsor of basketball teams in my city of Chicago. Little did I know we were very far away in the business aspect to be able to afford those type of things. And we're still far away, I would say. But the goal for me is to take a percentage of our profits / whatever we make and enjoy, and start, or not start a charity, but donate to charity. I go back home to like where I grew up every so often, and I just know that there are people that can use help. My outlet to get away from the things that were a part of the neighborhood that we don't really want to talk about or glorify was sports, right? I play ball, and believe it or not, back, and we talking when I was, we talking young, 12 years old, 11 years old. I was a relatively good basketball player for my age group, and that was one of the reasons why nobody messed with me. And I just know there are people out there that need an outlet, to stay away from the things that, are hard to stay away from when you're in that environment. So I would like to be a sponsor to, and AAU is like, I don't like AAU, just because I think it's bad for the kid's body. They're playing 6 games in 2 days, but like some way for us to sponsor, whether it be just some type of hoop team, give the kids a bunch of sneakers and Enjoy Basketball hoop bags. Like I have so many ideas, but we're just a little bit too far away from it. And part of the reason why we left the previous company to go independent was to open up the doors to try to do some of this stuff. And I don't know, again, if this is a 2025 plan or a 2028 plan. I couldn't tell you. But as long as I'm here and Enjoy Brand is here, we're going to be continually working to doing stuff where we can give back to the community. And I don't mean just our community, but I just mean like the community at large, because there are people that just can't afford a new pair of hoop shoes every season, but they deserve a pair of hoop shoes every season. So I just want to try to be that guy that's like, hell, I grew up, over here too. I'm saying? I'm from out west, and we can all be successful, So just give people a little, I don't know how to explain it. Next one comes from CJ. Do you think social media, TikTok / Instagram, has watered down the excitement and interest due to fans having lower attention spans, leading to the complaints of the season being too long, i.e., football felt stale, post in-season tournament, NBA feels long, MLB needing a pitch clock, whatever. Okay. To answer your question, no. I do believe I'm a victim of this as well, where I guess I'm so much on the go and trying to do so many different things. I've just grown accustomed to having so many different stimuli at the same time, where on a normal day, I'm trying to watch multiple basketball games. I count that as multiple stimuli. This is how crazy it can be. If there's 2 teams who broadcast in booth I don't enjoy, I'm watching the game while simultaneously listening to music / a pod. Like I shouldn't need that much stimulation. And then sometimes we get to just the timeouts, a 30-second timeout. They didn't even cut to commercial. I pick up my phone and open like TikTok. It's bad. And I know I'm not alone in this. And it's kind of the way it is. And I've been trying my hardest. I think I'm better now than I was a while ago. But I think most people, a lot of people are in this as well. To get to your question, I don't think so. I think if anything, especially for the game of basketball, social media has enhanced it. And I don't mean to see everybody, I don't mean that, and I'm seeing everybody's takes and stuff, but I think there are a lot of people that didn't have the opportunity to really get into basketball until social media started to pop off. And I don't know if there's many people watching or listen to this that can relate to this, but like accounts like House of Highlights, shout out to the House of Highlights family, accounts like ESPN/Sports Center or Overtime, or all of these brands that will take a bite-sized piece of an NBA game and throw it up on Instagram, probably enrich the love of a lot of kids, like love of the game. That's basketball, that's baseball, that's so on and so forth. But some of this stuff, again, I can't speak to the football. I don't know what the football community thinks. I think football just added an extra game the last couple seasons, but the NBA fans have always said that the season's too long. Like, I find an article from 2003 where it was written that they believe that the NBA season was too long. Now, this is one writer, and they didn't even have the writer's name, or maybe this is a collection of writers under this publication, regardless. And so in 2003, I found a clip out of people saying that the season was too long. That was well before social media was really popping. So people believe that 82 games is just long regardless. But I do think that it keeps the league on its toes. When you talk about the in-season tournament, one of the reasons the in-season tournament became a thing is because Adam Silver recognized there was a part of the season where they just saw a dip. They just saw a dip that people were not watching as often as they did. They're like, you know, what could we do? Well, soccer kind of have high viewership all season long. Okay, well, they got these tournaments where people from across different leagues can play against each other. So now you got a league in EPL going against a team over here. And it's just, so they were like, we're going to take that. And again, the numbers say the in-season tournament had the average viewers at that time this year versus that time last year grew exponential a lot. The pitch clock helped me consume baseball a lot more this year. You know? So I think there are some good things that have come from it. Again, I understand what you're saying though. But you know, I think the game of NBA/basketball is as big as it's ever been. Now, it might not be as big as it's ever been as far as how many people are watching a game from start to finish, but as how many people are interested in the league, I think we're at an all-time high. Brody said #AskKB. As someone who built their credibility from the ground up, from YouTube to members of the media, oh man, from 2K in your house to a podcast to Studio J. Look at you. You know what I'm saying? Give me my flowers. You're making me blush. What is the main thing from your come up that a follower can take from? And what is your long-term career goal you can share? What I want people to look at when it comes to my come up, it's the consistency, bro. Like one thing that has been very, very important to me over this last 10 years of making content is being consistent. There has never been a trade deadline. I ain't get a video. It has never been a time where there was an opportunity on the table for me to do something cool in basketball that I said no to. Even things that I didn't want to do that I didn't see cool, but other people might give me that. The content I've dropped over these years, I mean, I've always tried my hardest to make content to make people smile and make people happy, but ultimately the goal is to further the name. And I think that the way I've been able to further the name is by pushing out content, but not just any content. Like I highly, highly value 90% of the content that I make. Forget the 2K stuff. I highly, highly value, like when I'm making the videos, even though again, some of them are just like this, I'm sitting in the room and just chatting basketball. Like I'm trying my hardest to put together competent opinions that are displayed in an entertaining manner. And if you want to replicate that, whatever that may be, consistency is huge. It's just huge. What is the long-term goal? I said this before because when we announced that we were going to Omaha/ESPN for the Numbers on the Board podcast, I did a press run, right? I got interviewed by the Boardroom. I got interviewed by Hollywood Reporter and some other publications. And I got asked this exact question. And I when we started this podcast, I mentioned to y'all what my number one is, and it's still the same way. I want to have the number one spot. The likelihood of me obtaining the number one spot is close to 0%. And I recognize that, but it's not 0%. It might be close to 0%, but it's not 0%. So every single day when I lock in, The goal is to get to number 1. And if I flounder out at number 4, I don't think I failed, because how many people end up at number 4? You know? So I'm just trying my hardest to be in that number 1 spot. Complexes did that list, and now Complex is not the news. You know what I'm saying? Complexes did the list of the 25 most entertaining people in sports media. I was 25 on the list. I was highly honored to even make the list. I flew out to New York for it. I was highly, highly honored to make the list with a bunch of GOATs. A bunch of GOATs on that list. Shannon Sharpe was one. I understand it. Shannon Sharpe has some of the best pieces of sports media on the market. Nightcap, Club Shay Shay, and that's Club Shay Shay, and of course, it's not always sports, but as entertaining as can be. I'll never be able to be what he is because I'm not trying to be who he is, but I want the spot he in. Stephen A. Smith, I want the spot he's in. You know? And these are people that have, Stephen A. Smith has been working for damn near 50 years. I don't know, that's making him a lot older, but 30 years, let's say. I don't know the exact number. And it happened overnight. And I still think that what I'm doing in media, I'm still, like, I'm a toddler. You know what I'm saying? I'm a toddler in my career as a media guy. So give me some time. You know what I'm saying? Give me some time. Yep. Give me some time. I'm trying. Again, I'm just trying. That is the ultimate goal, though. What's the Play podcast said, what are your thoughts on Udonis Haslem getting his jersey retired? I love it. And I saw him getting clowned for it. You know the internet. You know how internet is. I saw him getting clowned for it, which is just, it just tells me everything I need to know about what headspace a lot of NBA fans are on, because he's one of the few people to spend an entire career on one organization. 20 years. Now, of course, he won't suit enough for all 20, but 20 years, one organization. He is on a short list of people that have ever done that. Whether he was doing it as the 1 option or the 15 option, you know that Udonis Haslem had an impact whether he was playing or he was not. The day his jersey got retired, he was in the goddamn huddle. He's Heat culture. I just need people to realize, and I interviewed him when I used to have a little show called Called Game. Some of y'all might know. The man was born and raised in Miami, went undrafted, played overseas for a little bit, and got a call from his childhood team. Well, not childhood teams, they weren't around, but his home city said, we want to give you an opportunity to play at home. And he did it for 20 years. The stuff off court, when you think about his charitable work, honorable stuff. People forget that basketball is not just all numbers. This man has been a critical part of the Miami Heat, no matter if they were winning, whether they were in their bad seasons, down years. There's one thing that's been consistent, and that's that Udonis Haslem is on your ass. And he did that. He was starting in NBA Finals. Let's not act like Udon was a bum, because he was very far from it. You remember the last 5 years where he didn't play. He was far from a bum. He is the type of guy that deserves his jersey retired. If you're not the Celtics or you're not the Lakers that have 17, 18 NBA championships, you do this type of stuff with people that means the most to your organization. This organization has a few championships. That's the same organization that they retired MJ's number. He didn't play for them. You know, Nick Collison got his jersey retired by the OKC Thunder. Nick Collison did far less in his NBA career than Udonis Haslem. But both of them deserve it. Nick Collison spent his entire career with that organization because he was in Seattle. Entire career. It's not a single OKC fan that been around for Nick Collison's career that looked at him and said, why the hell are they retiring your jersey? They're a small market team that had a guy play double-digit years on one roster. Like, you know how rare that is nowadays? Like, right now, Steph Curry is Draymond Green, I think, and Klay Thompson. That's it. Kind of. I love it for UD. Nobody deserves it more, if you ask me. Now, don't ask me about his post-playing career. Now he's got the podcast. He's UD. I be hearing you be speaking some stuff, and we not here with the stuff you speaking. But as a player, as what he meant to the organization of the Miami Heat, nobody deserves it more. And everybody that has played for the Heat, Bron, Wade, Bosh, these guys that play with him now currently Jimmy, will tell you the exact same thing. Kyle asked, I know there are all these reports about DeJounte Murray being traded from the Hawks, but do you think it's possible they can move Trae Young as well, or instead also, where do you think a good spot for both of them? Okay, I'm sorry. There's a little bit wordy. There's no punctuation. I've said this before on Twitter. Nobody on the Hawks roster should be safe, untouchable. It's Jalen Johnson's emerging. His untouchability rate's higher than Trae Young to me. Now, does that mean I'm trading Trae Young this year? Hell no. The package would have to be, the trade package you get back would have to be really, really good. But I'm answering, if I am in charge of the Landry Field, Kyle Korver, whoever it is, I'm answering every single call regardless. Because this team has not done enough for me to think that anybody should be untouchable. Untouchable, in my opinion, should be to the Jokic's of the Luka Doncic's of the world. If you're not in that top tier of superstardom, you could go if the trade is right. So I would answer the phone. Is that rumor about the Spurs true? Hell, let me call them and see what they're thinking. Because I would be interested. And they got my picks for three of my next couple picks. So yeah, let's talk. I don't think anybody should be untouchable, especially with a team that's underperformed like they have. Now, it's not all Trae's fault. Trae's been phenomenal for the most part. Get well soon. He's in concussion protocol right now. But I would be 100% answering for pretty much anybody. Again, that don't mean I'm giving Trae Young away for nothing, because I want good value in return for a guy that has been the best player on my team for the last couple seasons. But I'm not shying away from answering those calls. The problem is finding your Trae Young. Finding your building block, your main building block, is extremely, extremely tough in the NBA, or just in sports in general. You know how hard it is to find a really good quarterback. I wouldn't know because I don't keep up that much. But I'm just saying, they believe that Trae Young is that guy, and he showed us in 2021 that maybe he could be. Again, he has not played to the same level. Then maybe that was a fluke run. Well, but. I'm just saying nobody should be safe, but I understand kind of when they say that he's untouchable, because finding the player that could be another Trae Young is hard, especially in Atlanta. Atlanta is not notorious for having the stars. The success that we've seen for the Atlanta Hawks over the last 20 years or so was them doing it by committee. It was Al, it was Paul, it was Jeff, it was Kyle Korver, it was DeMarre Carroll. They didn't have the guy, and they might believe that Trae Young is the guy for them, because he got them to a conference finals. And I think he took 2 games off the team that eventually went on to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not easy to do. But even with that said, I would take the calls. A few more before we get out of here. This one comes from JR Blanks. Considering you've done both, do you feel that it's easier to start a podcast solo or with others as well? And even if you have friends who may be into basketball, how do you convince them to do a podcast? #AskKB. Let's do the first question. The second question first. I wouldn't try to force anybody to do anything. You could try to convince them, like, hell, you got good opinions, bro. You want to talk in front of a microphone. But at the end of the day, if your co-host, if that's what you're trying to make them, is not as dedicated as you, is not as dedicated to making the content at the frequency or the quality that you're wanting, then it's not even worth trying to get them involved, personally. That's my opinion. What is easier? It's 100% easier to do it with people that want to do it. You know how easy it is when it's 4 minds putting together a run a show versus 1? The Kenny Beecham podcast has been basically one. Our producer Greg has helped when needed, but for the most part, the run of shows that y'all see every single 2 times a week, that's 100% coming from me. And it's more difficult to say, like, yo, homies, what you seeing in basketball right now that you want to talk about? I have to hold all of the pressure I've had to hold the pressure for the last 40 minutes. When I got the rest of the guys, I could say 2 sentences and chill for 5 minutes if I wanted to. Here, you chill for 5 minutes. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, it's easier to do it with homies unless you're a control freak and you want it to look exactly the way you want it to look. Because then one of the guys got an idea that you don't really rock with, it makes it a little tough. I don't really have that for the most part. For the most part, the guys are like, they recognize that, like, I'm like the YouTube guy. So I kind of have an idea of what works as far as thumbnails and titling and all of this other stuff. So they follow my lead on that. But, we all just be in the group chat. What's the plan? The run of show is filled out. I wake up one morning and, like, all right, let me add my part. And it's already a bunch. I'm like, my part don't even fit. We gonna have a 6-hour show. So doing it with a bunch of homies that are like-minded, and I don't mean like-minded in takes, because I think you need some disagreements to make it a worthwhile pod, but like-minded in your goals, then that is a lot easier. Zine, would you agree that not enough has been said about how Wemby's Rookie of the Year discussion aside has been met and arguably surpassed the ridiculous expectations placed on him? Better prospect than LeBron, and he is at least making you think about it. Woo-hoo. They're not gonna like this. They not go. If you're not actively watching Wemby, you don't understand. If you're box score watching Wemby, you're not gonna understand. Now, there are a lot of things about Wemby's game that needs to get better, but hell, did he just turn 20? Like, he's got a lot of time to put it together. But based on what I knew about him when he was drafted and all the hype, I agree that he's lived up to it. Now, he's in a Rookie of the Year conversation with him and Chet Holmgren and stuff, but since Christmas, his numbers have been disgusting. 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 24 minutes of play. Goddamn, if they were winning basketball games, then more eyes would be open. Now, the NBA nerd / NBA geek is definitely tuned in. So even if you're not watching Spurs games, you're at least seeing the highlights that he's dropping. He has met my personal expectations. And to think he's doing what he's doing while he basically cannot score outside the paint right now. Like, he's shooting like sub 30% on jump shots. Like, it's a lot of things that could be better. But the things that's going right now, the defensive impact from the 20-year-old rookie is otherworldly. Only unfortunate part for him is that Chet defensive impact is great as well. If you're asking me whose impact has been greater defensively, I think it has been Wemby, but I can't be mad if you say Chet, because Chet is a part of one of the top 10 defensive teams in basketball, and he is the anchor of that. But just on the eye test basis, forget all the numbers that might say otherwise. When I watch both of these teams play, I'm watching Wemby impact shots and impact defenses more than Chet Holmgren. But because Chet Holmgren is so good as well, again, he's also a guy that should be a conversation for all defensive teams. Because Chet is so good at it as well, Wemby's somewhat like, oh, well, yeah, he's good there, but we got 2 generational defensive centers in the same class? Yeah, maybe. When I say class, but same rookie, you know what I'm saying? Both rookies. Maybe. The guy has been phenomenal, and I cannot wait till they turn the table or turn the corner on team building, and we start to really either develop the talent or get the talent around Wemby where it can be showcased to the highest degree. Because I still think there are a lot of things that they aren't using him enough with. Even Greg Popovich is recognizing, like, there are certain things that we're not doing correctly, and we're gonna try our hardest to get that in the right place, which I respect from Greg Popovich. That's it on the Ask KB, man. We got around to some NBA questions. We got to some philosophical stuff. Who's making NBA 100 in a couple years? And you let me know about all of this stuff. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? My people that are on commutes, you go body that test. You go put those hours in. Do exactly what you're asked to do at work. That was I don't know how much I believe that, actually. That was something I was told a while ago. It depends on your field. It depends on your field, right? So my first job, I worked at a movie theater, but it was one of those sit-down eatery movie theaters, and it was the worst job I've ever had. And now, granted, I've only had 4 jobs, but it was the worst of the 4. And I mean 4 jobs other than this content stuff. It was the worst of the 4. And somebody told me, do what you're asked to do, because at that time I was making minimum wage. So, like, why the hell would I go above and beyond at this movie theater as a 16-year-old? You know what I'm saying? And I respected that. But there are other jobs that I've had where doing what I'm supposed to do wasn't enough for me, and that kind of helps me get to ESPN. So yeah, you know, just do what you see fit with your position. That's what I'm gonna say. Trust your gut. And I'll see y'all in a couple days with more NBA stuff. Maybe there's some trades. Trade deadline is 2.5 weeks away. And we ain't seen nothing other than Pascal and Marvin Bagley, who dropped back-to-back 20s, I think. I mean, I haven't been keeping up with the Wizards that much. All right, I will see y'all later. Peace.